Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips podcast with your geeky host, Lindsay Wheeler, where we talk about everything from death, preparing for your future through estate planning, life, the occasional breakup, entrepreneurship, general nerdery, and of course travel, snowboard, and always wine. Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips with your host, Lindsay, and this episode we're going to discuss the Nightmare of Probate. As you all know, I handle estate planning and death. That's my jam, because of course when you think of death, you think of me. However, with that, we have what we call the probate process, and that is the court's process to deal with death, or dead people's things, more or less. What does that look like? Well, how do we get there, I should say? So to get to the probate process, someone has to die, because we're dealing with dead people's things, and you get there because you have done nothing to have your estate or your affairs in order. This is the court's process of handling your affairs after you have passed away. It is our societal's checks and balances to handle dead people's things. So how we get there is that you have basically neglected to do your diligence and your responsibility to handle your life for when you're not here for your loved ones. Very neglectful of you. Don't do that. Just kidding. Most people don't want to think about that because nobody wants to think about their life ending. They don't want to think about planning for their demise. They don't want to think about putting their affairs in order. Some people have superstitions that think, oh, if I put my paperwork in order, I'm going to die tomorrow. Grim Reaper's like, got that paperwork in order, I'm knocking on the door. That's not how that works. It's not how that works at all. In fact, the opposite, in my opinion, is that once you have this stuff in order, you can breathe easy. Your loved ones can breathe easy. And then you can go do the stupid things that you love to do. You want to go jump out of a plane? Have at it. You want to go swim with sharks? Yes. You want to do aggressive knitting contests? Whatever it is, you are able to do that now because you have your things in order and you're not thinking about that in the back of your head. Oops, what happens if I don't? Okay. So that's how we get to the probate process. We have neglected to do our due diligence for our loved ones, and now my loved ones, or your loved ones, if you will, are in having to file a action with the court to handle your things. Don't do that to your loved ones. What does that process look like? So, I'm not going to die, but if I did and didn't have anything in place, my loved ones would end up in the probate process and the court probate. What that looks like is a nightmare. And if you have ever gone through it yourself or have a loved one who's gone through it or a friend, go ask them how fun that experience it was. Because they're going to tell you right now that it was the least fun they have ever had in their entire life. And I'm sure some people have had some horrible things happen to their life, and this is the worst thing that can happen. Okay. It is emotional, it is overwhelming, it is expensive, and it is time consuming, and it's also not private. So keep that in mind, that through the probate process, everybody knows your business. They know who you are. They can see your death certificate. They know who your children are. They know who your family members are. They know what assets you owned. They know where to find your stuff, frankly. So that is one aspect of it. So you can have people who are trolling the court websites looking, or going down to the courthouse and looking at these filings, and then can see your whole life. I could literally pull up our court's website right now and poke through people's lives. It is frightening and kind of sobering to look through that. We can see how people died. We can see their death certificates. We can see where they were born, how old they were, what they passed away from. We can see, again, who their children are. We can see who their heirs are. We can see what kind of assets they own. We can see everything because it's a public document, because it's now being filed with the court in your jurisdiction of which you passed away. With that, you have now died. Sad. We're sad for you. You have died. You have lived hopefully a long life. We have shared many great memories with you. We love you, and now you're dead. Okay? Because again, one guarantee in life, you're not going to make it. You're done. We're now having to sort through all of your crap. Don't do that to us. Please don't. Handle that for us. How you do that is through your estate planning and that revocable living trust. If you do not have that, or you just have a will, you kind of got halfway to getting those things taken care of, your heirs are still going to the probate process with that will. That does not avoid that probate process. It is just the roadmap for the court to follow. If you pass away with nothing in place, that is called intestate, is what that is. You have passed away without anything in place. If you have a will, we call that testate. You have a will for our roadmap. Today's wine is a very special Napa wine because we've got a theme going these days. That's a tasty one too. So today we have this Pars from Napa Valley. It's a cab, of course, because that's what Napa is known for. This is actually it's a Napa Valley one, but it's bottled in Sebastopol in Sonoma County. So they basically probably source their grapes, bottle it from this winery here, Pars. It's 2021. Super good. I really like it. It's not that crazy, like heavy, jammy Napa cab that you think about. It's got some good full body on it. Tastes great. Got some nice bell pepper out of this one, which I really enjoy. Tastes really good, that vegetable flavoring in there. And I really enjoy this wine. So if you've got questions about wine or want to talk to me about what you're drinking, let me know. What does the probate process look like? I'm going to walk you through the steps of it, and at the end of it, you're going to understand why it sucks. You do not want to put your family members through that, and you will go and run and get your estate plan immediately. Just kidding. Whether from me or somebody else, I don't care. Just get it done. So, what is probate? Again, it is a department within a court in your jurisdiction that handles dead people's things. Because why? Because as society, we want to protect dead people's things. We don't want people coming and stealing a home or a car or a bank account that doesn't belong to them. So as society, we lock down dead people's things to make sure that random Joe off the street doesn't come and steal your stuff. Okay? Why that is happening, your stuff is locked out. You may still have bills that have to be taken care of, mortgages, expenses. Those don't stop with you. But because your assets are now locked out with the society and the court, your heirs are still having to take care of those responsibilities for you, but have to do it out of their own pocket. So there's step one of suckage. Okay. From there, you have just passed away and everyone's sad and they're trying to grieve. Then they're digging through paperwork because they need to now find a practitioner, somebody who is going to now file this probate matter in the court for them. Whether that's an attorney or a doc prep firm, paralegal firm, whatever it is, they're going to have to now go and hire somebody. They're going to have to go into those lawyers' offices, the schmarmy guy with the mahogany desk and the Maserati outside and the banging secretary who's going to be like, yes, how much is this estate worth? If it's a good amount, they're going to take the case. Oftentimes, if it's not a big estate, they're not going to take it because it's not worth their time because they're greedy bastards. Let's be real, lawyers suck. They are going to take a percentage of the entire estate. That is how they get their fees. Some will do flat rate fees. Oftentimes they do not because they're going to get a higher percentage out of the total estate value. So keep that in mind in the back of your head as we go through this process. So first you've died, sad. Now we're having to go through a schmarmy lawyer's office who doesn't care that you've died. They don't care that your heirs are grieving and having a hard time with this. They're going to be like, okay, I need some documents. I need a death certificate. I need to know all the assets. I need to know who these people are. I need to know the heirs. I need to know all this basic information to then file the probate petition with the court. And typically those vary on the amount of worth of the estate. So there's different levels of probate that usually get filed in different jurisdictions, if you will. They're going to then file that petition. You've now hired this attorney. They're going to file this petition. And then depending on the worth of the estate, they may have to do a publication in the newspaper. So again, everybody knows your business. They know that you've passed away and now they're going through a probate process. So that can alert criminals to go ahead and look through your stuff, if you will, online or at the courthouse. That hearing doesn't usually occur until at least 30 to 45 days, sometimes longer depending on the court's calendar, to get in front of a court before you even have authority to handle anything. So you've passed away. Now we're about 30, 45 days out. We're now in front of a judge, which sucks. Nobody likes to go to court. That's scary for most people, if you're not used to it, even though the probate courts, and I would say all jurisdictions, are good, kind people. They're compassionate because they understand they're dealing with death, and that's a difficult thing for most people. But you're still in front of a court, you're still in front of a judge, and that is daunting for a lot of people. Hopefully your attorney is compassionate in helping you with this, but oftentimes you have to be in front of the judge. They're going to ask you questions, who you are, why do you think you should be in charge of this? That's why that notice of publication in the paper is happening. Other people who, maybe your parent's aunt thinks that she's so much better than this than you are and can question your ability to handle the estate for your loved one. People can come in and challenge you. You have to go in court. They're going to, again, ask who you are, making sure that you have the right qualifications, that you're able to adequately handle this person's things, okay, through the court process. After that, if you've got appointed, great, Yahoo. Maybe we're at about 60 days out from the court. We get an order. We get what we call letters testamentary or our letters of administration, depending if you have a will or not. That is now your authority to deal with these financial institutions because, again, the court has done its due diligence, its checks and balances, and now has given you the authority to handle these things. Then the institutions will now talk to you because before that, They won't talk to you. They'll lock everything down and they will give you no information, period. Okay. Now you have your letters. Now you have to go ahead and then start gathering these assets, if you will. You have to form an estate account. You have to set up an EIN, which is an electronic number with the IRS for that estate. And then you have the authority to start maybe marshaling these assets. You're going to then transfer bank accounts into the estate account. You're going to maybe put the house up for sale or handle the, transferring of that if you want to, figuring out what you guys want to do with estate assets, okay? Whether it's going to be transferred or it's going to be sold, put into the account. With that, bills are still having to get paid, so you can get paid for those. You're going to pay those out of the estate account now because now you have access to that money, if there is some. You are then giving notice to creditors, so they get another publication in the paper to all creditors saying that, hey, this person has died. If you have a claim for legitimate money, you can make a claim with the court and with the estate for that reimbursement of those funds. So again, credit cards don't go away when you pass away. Surprise. That Amex still wants its money. So that's happening there. That notification is happening through the publication in the paper of creditors to come forward. Depending on your jurisdiction, there's a time frame that creditors have to come forward. Oftentimes that's 60 to 90 days, depending on the worth of the estate. So that's another 3 months that we're looking at that nothing can be done. So now we're at 4 or 5 months at this point of just barely being able to handle the estate, of handling these assets. It's a pretty long time already. With that time, like I said, you're selling assets, you're transferring assets if you need to into this estate account, selling vehicles, putting that funds in there, selling real property, putting that in there, consolidating bank accounts, consolidating investment accounts, and that takes time. Agencies do not move quickly. Life insurance does not move quickly. Bank accounts do not move quickly, and neither do investment accounts. Selling a property, depending on that, if you need to sell a property, you may have to get court confirmation for that as well. Again, another notice in the publication for the paper of you're selling this property. People can come and bid on that property. You're having to go in front of a judge again and trying to get the most money for that asset, if you will. So that's another thing that can hinder it. So maybe that takes another 60 days. We're pushed out and in. So we're like 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months at this point. That's a long time, right? From there, once everything is marshaled together, we have maybe a big pot in the estate account. Now we sold the house, we sold the vehicles, we sold the motorcycles, we, consolidated the bank accounts and say we have $1 million at the end of the day, okay? Now you're gonna go with the court again. You're gonna file another petition saying, hey, we have the real numbers because we have the authority to. We have now consolidated everything. Everything is ready to be looked at, if you will. We'll do an inventory and appraisement of what these things are actually worth because you now have the authority to see what they're actually worth. Let the court know what these assets are actually worth, what you have done with them, and then ask the court that, hey, we want distribution now. With that, you can ask for reimbursement for your costs and expenses. You can get an administrative fee if you wish. Usually statutory or code law with every state you have has the opportunity to get reimbursed for your fees. Allergies, everyone. Then, of course, before anybody gets paid, mind you, we're at like 9, 10, 11 months now. You have no money. No money has been paid to you. Your attorney is going to take their fees off the top before you guys get any money. And again, they usually, on average, will take 10 to 15% of the entire estate. So say you have $1 million estate, they're going to take a percentage of that. That's a lot of money that could have went to you or to your heirs that you are now paying to some lawyer to go buy another Maserati out of your estate and your hard work. Why? Why do that to your heirs? That money can be kept with you, with your family, and to your heirs by a little bit of pre-planning through that estate plan. Because with an estate plan, you are doing all this probate work ahead of time while you're here. How cool is that? That's why we don't have to go to probate in a weird basic sense of it, if you will, is that because you're doing all the work ahead of time. You're giving these financial institutions the authorization. You're letting them know that this is where these things need to go. Again, it's kind of like a family business that you've set up, that you're now a manager of these assets as opposed to them being one and the same as you. And that's why the probate is necessary. Without that estate plan, you have to do that process. With the estate plan and that revocable living trust, now you're the manager of those assets and you have already transferred them ahead of time, if you will, in a very simplistic manner. So that's why probate sucks. So again, it's not private. Anybody can see your stuff. They can know all about you. It's not private in any way. They can show up to court hearings. They can find your heirs. Like, it's kind of frightening, frankly. They can see your death certificate, they can see all your information. It takes a long time. It takes, 10 to 11 months, 12 months, sometimes longer, sometimes years, depending on what's going on. If there's other assets, if there's assets that need to be sold, if you own assets in a different state, those have to be handled as well. And that's through an ancillary probate. So not only are you doing the initial probate, you're having to handle the assets in another state, which we call an ancillary probate, which is another full probate or a shortened probate in that other state to handle those assets. So we've got multiple probates potentially going on. That sucks. That's going to prolong it. That's going to make it a little bit longer and draw out this process. Again, you're still having to pay those debts. You're still paying all these fees. You're still managing everything and taking care of everything. Not only have you lost somebody, you're now having to do this full management role. Yes, of course, when somebody passes away with an estate plan, you still have to do stuff, but it's way less than this. You can usually get an estate plan or a trust with the basic assets wrapped up within 3 months. This is now, we're at 9, 10, 12, 13 months, if not longer. So that's a disadvantage as well, is that it takes a long time. So it's not private, it takes a long time, and it costs a lot of money that could have went to you instead of a lawyer or somebody who's doing those documents for you. So a little bit of pre-planning with getting your estate plan in place will avoid all of this for your heirs. Do that for them, give them that gift, make sure everything is together and organized, get your digital planner in place too so they can find all your assets and have all those things at their fingertips, all their passwords, all your account logins. Our Legacy Vault's great for that. And of course, getting your estate plan in place, whether it's with me or anybody else, just do that for them. It's such a gift. So questions, let me know if you want to get set up. Of course, you can find me at Your Estate Plan Online or High Sierra Legal. And of course, when you think of death, think of me. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you found value, please like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to follow me on all the socials at Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And of course, you can always go to my website, sipsandtipswithlindsay.com, to find more information about estate planning, business, snowboard, travel, and of course, wine. As always, we have to get the legal stuff out of the way. I went to law school, so you don't have to. However, we have to read the special disclaimer that I am not a practicing attorney. I am not your attorney. I am not offering any legal advice in any content or any episode. All content is for your information and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for seeking your own legal advice from your own attorney or other professionals such as a CPA or financial advisor. I cannot give legal advice and do not offer any legal services or legal advice, but I do offer some fun and educational content for you to enjoy.